Hey there, welcome back to the channel for Webflow Pros. Today's tutorial has been requested on this channel for a very long time now, and we're basically going to implement Locomotive Scroll on a Webflow project. So Locomotive Scroll is a smooth scrolling library, and it's seen on a lot of sites used on awards. This is scroll jacking, so it basically takes control of the scroll speed of the user's device. Like anything, this can be overused, so we gotta make sure to use it in the right context, but it can also be very powerful. So the way scroll jacking works, or extensions like Locomotive Scroll, is basically it disables the actual page from scrolling and then places every section inside a container that is being moved with CSS transforms to give it that nice smooth effect. So that being said, a lot of things, like a lot of times by default position sticky or fixed when at work, or scrolling down to a particular section. There are some workarounds for some of that, which I'll show a couple today. But the biggest thing is that Webflow interactions that are tied to scroll wouldn't work because it doesn't know that the page has actually scrolled, since it's just moving a container. Fortunately for us, Locomotive Scroll does have some nice animation features built in that we can use in place of Webflow interactions. But again, this is all based on if it's the right project or if it's the right use case to use this. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. So I'll basically link this clonable right here if you want to just dive into this and see what we're building and dissect any of it. And I'll also link the code that we're going to be using in the description of this video. So we're just going to copy that code, head over to your project, and in either the page or project settings, go to the closing body tag section and paste all this code. So basically it's just looking for a div with a class of locomotive-scroll. So that div needs to be containing all our page sections, and then we'll just give it that class. Now right now if we publish, we'll instantly have smooth scrolling enabled, but all these elements will only be moving at one scroll speed. They're not animated or moving at different scroll speeds yet. So we have to decide what we want those animations to be. Also, if you're going to have anything that's fixed, like a nav bar for instance, that needs to be outside of your Locomotive Scroll div. That way this can actually still be fixed while the rest is being moved with CSS transforms. So the next thing we need to do, if we're going to animate elements, individual elements inside of a section, we need to head over to our section and we need to give it basically a data attribute. And the data attribute we're looking for, we can create right here, and it's going to be data-scroll-section. And by default in Webflow, we have to apply a value here. So I just put a number 1, even though this number isn't actually going to do anything. We really only need the name applied right here, and then we can hit save. What that's going to tell Locomotive is that there's elements that we plan to animate inside this section, so it can keep track of those elements we plan to animate. The next thing we need to do is actually select one of the elements we want to animate, and in this case it's going to be my heading here, and we're going to add an attribute to it. Any element that we want to animate, we got to give an attribute of data-scroll, just like this. And again, we have to put a value here, so I'll just put 1. So basically this is just telling Locomotive that this element is something we're going to want to animate or move. But then we also have to affect its scroll speed. So how fast is it going to scroll when we move up and down the page? For that we do data-scroll-speed. And then we can assign any value here. So the lower the number, the slower the speed. And then if we do a negative number, it would move it in the opposite direction. So like 5 would be pretty fast, 1 would be slightly fast. By default, if we remember back in our code of our page settings, the entire page is scrolling at a speed of 1. So when we apply a scroll speed of 1 to this element, it's basically essentially a scroll speed of 2, because it's the scroll speed of the body plus the scroll speed of this individual element. So parents basically affect their children like that. So if this div had a scroll speed of 2, then this would be 1 plus the parent scroll speed. So let's go ahead and just let's assign a couple different scroll speeds. So for this first headline, I might make it a scroll speed of 3. The second one, we need to do the same thing. We need to give it a data attribute of data-scroll, so we know this is scrollable. I'll just set that to 1, and then we need to define its scroll speed, data-scroll-speed. And for this one, I'll just give it 2 for now. For this one right here, I can give it maybe 3. So we'll do data-scroll assign 1, do data-scroll-speed, and assign maybe, let's do 3. And then I'll just go through each one of these. Alright, so each of these have a different scroll speed applied to them. What we can do now is just go ahead and publish, and let's check this out on the live site. So one thing you'll notice on the live site is it looks like the animation is already started. Even though we're all the way scrolled up at the top, it looks like it's already kind of started right here. So to fix that, what we're going to need to do is give each of these another data attribute of data-scroll-position and anchor it to the top. Now let's save and publish again. Now back on the live site, what we'll notice is that all these are set in the exact right position when we start, and then once we scroll, that's when they start to break apart at different speeds. So Locomotive also has scroll delays, and the main difference between a scroll speed and a scroll delay is that you'll notice that it looks like some of these letters are moving faster than others, but when I stop, they all end up in the exact same place. I'll also link this documentation for Locomotive Scroll in the description of this video, but these are all the different sort of parameters or attributes that we can apply, and then it kind of explains what each one does and what kind of value it's looking for when we apply that data attribute. So if we apply a data scroll delay, we can just copy that, and we can say maybe we want to apply it to all of this lower section here. So I can apply that, and I'll do 0.05. So again, the higher the number, the faster it's going to be. But this is basically going to separate this line from the first two lines whenever we're scrolling, and then whenever we stop scrolling, they'll kind of join back together. Now let's check this out on the published site with all of our code in. You'll notice we're using a combination of scroll speed here, but also the scroll delay. So this line is really dynamic when it's being spread apart. For this next section, we want these two lines of text to basically scroll horizontally when we're scrolling past it. So again, we need to keep in mind that our section that contains them has a data attribute of data-scroll-section. And then this is the actual container we'll want to scroll. So any element that's going to be scrollable needs that ID of data-scroll. And then we need to apply a speed to it of data-scroll-speed. And then since we want this to move in the opposite direction, what we're going to do is actually do -6 this time, like this. And this second line right here will actually have +6. So that way these two move in opposite directions. Now by default, both these lines are going to scroll upwards, not horizontally. So we also need to set their scroll direction. You'll see scroll direction is one thing we can define here, and it accepts either vertical or horizontal. Since we want these two to scroll horizontally, we'll basically apply a data-scroll-direction and set that to horizontal. Now we can go ahead and publish this and check it out. So here on our live site, what we'll notice is that both of these are moving in opposite directions, and they still have the smooth scrolling effect applied. In this next section, we want to implement position sticky. Since Webflow's native position sticky isn't going to work with this particular scroll library, they do have a workaround that we can use for position sticky. And it's basically going to look for this data-scroll-sticky, and then it also needs a data-scroll-target. So what we're going to do is grab the block that we want to be sticky, and first we have to apply data-scroll to make sure that it can be scrollable. And then second, we'll apply data-scroll-sticky. I'll just put a 1 here. This value isn't going to actually do anything there. And then we need to do our data-scroll-target. And then we'll have to give this a specific ID to look for. And in this case, I'll just give it an ID of sticky 1. So we're telling it to look for an element with sticky 1. And we want to apply that ID to this container here. So it will be sticky 1, just like that. Note that we're using the hashtag or # in front of the ID right here. So basically it's going to know that this entire parent container is the ID that we want this to be position sticky inside of. We're also going to apply a scroll speed to this video block. So it's inside a div right here that has overflow set to hidden. And then the video block itself is 150% the height of its parent. So that way we have some room to move it inside the parent. And it's overflowing off the top and the bottom. So what we can do to make this video block scrollable, again, is just apply a data-scroll, and then we can do a data-scroll speed. And to give it that parallax effect where it looks like it's moving in the opposite direction of the actual page, we're going to do -3, so it moves in the opposite direction. Now on the live site, when we scroll to this section, you'll notice this element becomes sticky, and also the video inside this section is actually moving up and down with our scroll speed. In this next section, whenever an element comes into view, we want to change its size, background color, and scale. Since we can't use regular Webflow scroll interactions for this, Locomotive also has something that we can use. And basically, it can add a class to an element whenever it's in view, and we can use CSS animations or transitions to basically have that class animate whenever it's in view, just like we've done with the Wizardry jQuery builder before. So what we're going to need to do is, again, make this element scrollable by adding data-scroll of 1, and then we'll give each one of these the same scroll speed of data-scroll-speed of 1 as well. Then we need to define the class that we want it to add. So if we copy this right here, we're going to say data-scroll-class, and we'll add a class featured number. This class can be named whatever we want, and it's basically going to add that class. Now, whenever we scroll into view, it'll add the class. When we scroll out of view, though, it won't necessarily remove it. So if we want this animation to trigger every time, we're also going to have to add another data attribute of data-scroll-repeat and set that to true. Then we can create a combo class in Webflow of our featured number. So all we have to do is come over to one of these items, create a combo class of featured number, and then change it to look how we want it to look. So maybe we do a bit of background color here. Maybe we can increase its size using font size right there. And maybe we even increase its padding over to the sides just a little bit. I'm using CSS transitions for each one of these elements one by one. So that way when I add and remove the class, it basically slides to that position. So let's go ahead and apply this to all the other elements and test it out. So what you'll notice on the live site is that each one of these elements faded in at pretty much the same time, just like that. And every time we scroll back into view, that class is added again. If we wanted to have a bit of an offset where they don't basically add this class instantly when it's scrolled into view, but if we wanted to choose a very specific point, we can actually use this data-scroll-offset. And if we use a percentage here, it's basically a percent of the viewport height. So our scrollable space is 100 VH, and we can basically determine where we want that offset to fall. So the first value references the bottom, and then the second value here references the top. So we can define a percentage of the screen. So if we copy this attribute right here, come back over to our Webflow project, and then we can add this data attribute of data-scroll-offset. And for this, we'll pass in two values. We'll pass in 48% and 48%, and those two are separated by a comma, just like that. So what that basically means is it's going to wait to add this class till this element is 48% from the bottom of the screen and 48% from the top of the screen. So it'll add that class when this element is exactly in the middle of the screen. So let's go ahead and add that same offset to all the other items. Lastly, what if we wanted to animate an element inside the card that scrolls into view, not just the card itself? So this card, or this image for instance, you notice we can turn up its filters to turn up its brightness like this. So I can basically copy all this filter code here and bring it into a custom code embed. What we want to do here is get the class that our scroll library is going to add, a featured number, and then we're going to look for the image class that's inside that featured number, and then we're going to turn up the brightness of it. So basically, this image will only be brighter when it's inside of a div that has this combo class of featured number. Let's test it out on the live site. Now when we scroll into view, these elements wait to highlight till they're exactly in the center of the screen, and the image inside them, the brightness of that image, is turned up as well. I hope this tutorial has helped you understand a little bit more about Locomotive Scroll. This barely touches the surface of everything it can do, so check out that GitHub link below to see all the attributes that you can use. If you've enjoyed this video, subscribe so you never miss another video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.